to Magny-Cours for race 3 of the World Touring Car Championship. On pole is the BMW driver Jörg Müller, and at the back of the field, Thomas Klenker and Thomas Jäger after engine changes to their Ford, stretching round the chicane, the grid. So it's BMW, Seat, Alfa Romeo and BMW. And look at the BMW start. See Andy Priaulx come up between the front row starters. Rickard Rydell being dropped away at the start by the BMWs, and there goes Antonio Garcia. He's got ahead of Tarquini and the number 7 car, which is James Thompson. So again, as we expect from the BMWs, quick starting from the rear-wheel drive cars. David Leslie, Magny-Cours doesn't make any difference. Rear drive cars just get away off the line better than front drivers.
Yes, we've said this many times how much better the rear-wheel drive can get off the line, and they've done that here. You can see that immediately how Andy Priaulx, and see what a lead the first two BMWs have got over the front-wheel drive of Rickard Rydell in third place.
12 laps to go. Rydell will have to defend hard for all 11 3/4 if he's to keep Garcia behind him. Antonio Garcia carrying weight ballast, as are, well, Andy Priaulx in front of him, not Jörg Müller, but also Dirk Müller and James Thompson after success in Monza. On board with Nicola Lorini, the best of the Chevrolets, a little further back, and the track now much rubbered up after the 3-hour GT race compared to qualifying. Little rub from the Alfa Romeo forces Garcia out wide. That long tightening left-hander is a great place to pass if you can do it. The flag, the tricolore on the roof, marks it out as an Italian. That is Tarquini, and he gets in front. Looking back then from Rickard Rydell's Seat, Tarquini now up to 4th. Garcia got edged a little further back, and then it's Farfus and Dirk Müller ahead of the 2 Seats there. Hane with Giovanardi ahead of Terting, and then the other Alfa Romeo at the back is James Thompson. Then you get the independents coming thick and fast, and the fastest of the independent drivers in the qualifying was Vali Makala, whose car was heavily damaged in a 3-car incident with Tom Coronel's car in the morning warm-up. But across the line at the end of the first lap, it is the poleman, Jörg Müller, Andy Priaulx behind. You could pretty much have predicted that from the grid. They were 1st and 4th, with front-wheel drive cars 2nd and 3rd. But interesting here to see Garcia under such pressure from Augusto Farfus. Garcia quick in qualifying. Maybe the different track conditions have not helped him so much here. But again, watch the BMs. They all start quickly.
You can see the BMs will get away. They just accelerate away. And if you look at all the front-wheel drive cars, the Alfa Romeo and the Seat, we're looking here from behind of out of Rydell's car. They all had wheels in the front. You can see the white smoke coming from the wheels in front. But down into the Adelaide hairpin for the first time, you can see what a bottleneck that is. How everybody closes up as they try and get around that hairpin down there.
Well, we saw the second of the white BMWs. Dirk Müller back there in the queue, the championship leader, got away very smartly, but David under braking with 45 kilos extra weight in his car, as well as under acceleration around here. Alain Menu is off, and so too is the 30-car Stefano D'Aste on the Pro Team BMW, and that's bad news for Alain Menu, whose car was heavily damaged as well at Monza. It's been a really tough start to the season for the Swiss in his first year racing, indeed in Chevrolet's first year racing in the World Touring Car Championship. Bouncing across the curbs, looking back at Tarquini from Rydell's viewpoint. Now just about to finish the point that with 45 kilos of ballast, Dirk Müller is really struggling to hold his own here, and somebody else has gone off. That's the 33 car. That's Adam Lacko, the Czech, a new car this weekend. Joined Carl Rosenblatt at Crawford Motorsport with a BMW 320i. Started the season last time in Monza in an Alfa Romeo 156. Still under pressure. Farfus trying to get past Garcia. But off the chicane, he's going to struggle. Look at the way the cars go right up against the wall there on the outside to use the full width of the road.
Yes, for those of you watching earlier on and watching the GT race, you'd see GT cars would move over and use a fair bit of that road, but not as much as these guys. These guys are touring cars. They need to carry as much speed as possible through these corners, and they use every inch available to them, whether it be black or green. The rules say you should only use the black stuff and not the green stuff, but these guys will use all of the curbs and everything else they can to try and get that extra little bit of speed through the corners and pushing it to the limit all the time.
Well, the camera makes it look like there's a quite decent gap behind Ricard Rydell to Gabriele Tarquini, but in fact it's not even a car length. You can see how hard Tarquini is pushing the first of the red Alfa Romeos, with Rydell in the Seat in third place at the moment. Don't forget, top 8 in this race get reversed, so Dirk Muller is really looking quite strong at the moment. Down towards the bottom of the top 8 will mean he'll start from the front end of the race 4 grid, round 4 of the championship, race 2 here. But of course he is carrying a lot of extra weight, and you can see the car moving around a lot more, David. The back end wriggling around on board Ricard Rydell, working hard.
You can see him there, he's obviously bouncing over a curb somewhere at that point. And you can see how his head moves, looking from one side to the other to find out exactly where he's going, to make sure he positions that car exactly where he wants it on the circuit. You can see them pushing all the time, how they're locking up the front. Going into that corner there, that's Peter Tertering.
Yeah, Terting chasing Tarquini. In fact, well, that must be Giovanardi and Thompson. In fact, Terting really pushing hard. The Seats seem quicker than the Alfa Romeos here. That's been the case pretty much through practice and qualifying, though morning warm-up, it was, well, as at Monte, Gabriele Tarquini who was the fastest man, liking the car more here, and that was Genet making a mistake, going out across the grass, late out of the chicane. Still, Tarquini is the best of the Alphas, and Farfus wedged up behind Antonio Garcia. Spaniard, of course, has raced in the European Touring Cars and in the FIA GT Championship as well, so pretty multitasking over the last 2 or 3 seasons. But BMW Italia Spain really working hard over the winter, and at Monza he said how much further the team felt they'd moved towards the front of the grid. He, of course, and Alex Zanardi in those 2 cars, but Farfus is all over the back of him, and a desperately late, deep inside braking from Garcia should give Farfus the advantage, but David, he wasn't placed well to take it.
No, he wasn't. He didn't have the line to get out of there. Garcia, when he was locking up going in, made sure he got things stopped and turned and kept it to the inside, and that didn't allow Farfus to sort of dive up the inside to get the exit out they wanted. He was a little bit stumped at that and had to stay behind, because he's locking up there before Garcia with one of the Alfa Romeos trying to get into that corner. Very, very difficult corner, especially in a front-wheel drive car, that corner. It's called the 180-degree corner, just trying to get it in and round there. It tightens, it goes round it all the way around to the left-hand side and puts a real amount of pressure onto those tyres for a front-wheel drive car.
We can also see Garcia's car was really moving around under braking there as well, and unless you're doing your braking in a straight line, front drive or rear drive, the cars don't like it. If you make the back end lighter around the nose, as you do when the weight shifts forward, then the back end tends to sort of try and carry on in a straight line, and there's not enough weight to keep it on the ground to stop it doing so, and then you get the back end trying to overtake the front. Now, Jörg, you know the law. You're not supposed to watch your DVD player on board when you're driving at the wheel. You just get it switched off and back onto sat-nav. Left a bit, please turn right at the next corner. Jörg Muller, look at the way he's sliding this car. Well, the surface may have rubbered up after 3 hours of GT racing, maybe offering more grip, but Jörg Muller is really throwing that 320i around as he continues to pull away from Prio in second, Rydell in third, and the rest of them. FIA World Touring Car action from Magny-Cours, Antonio Garcia in BMW number 5, holding off Augusto Farfus in the number 7 Alfa Romeo, just outside the top 4 positions. And at the moment, BMW's first and second, and into the pits comes the number 52 car of Andrea Larini, the DB Motorsport entry, damaged in the morning warm-up when Larini completely ignored, furiously waved yellow and oil flags and slammed into the stationary car of Tom Coronel at the chicane, luckily without hitting any of the marshals that were trying to rescue the car at the time. And I have to say, if I was the clerk of the course, I would not be allowing him to race, just as a lesson pour encourager les autres, because there was a couple of very bad incidents. Here at the chicane, Coronel was stranded on the outside, yellow flags clearly waved. Coming down the hill, you can see that the yellow flags are waved. Coming round the right-hander leading up to the chicane, you can see the yellow flags are being waved. And yet 3 minutes after Coronel's car was stopped there, when marshals were working on it, and Coronel himself was at the chicane waving to cars to slow down. People were still going off, and in fact Larini ended up hitting the car, and one of the Ford boys, Jaeger or Klenker, I'm not sure which, only just missed it. And we talked about that earlier in the morning. Warm-up, in my opinion, they should not have been allowed to race. That's the sort of penalty that you need to apply to drivers to actually make them wake up and smell the coffee. Waking up and smelling the taste of victory, perhaps. Jörg Müller in a moment or two. 3 years ago when we came here, Fabrizio Giovanardi won both races for Alfas. That's when Alfa Romeos could pull out and pass anything in a straight line and just drive away. 2 years ago, 2003, Jörg won both races, the first back-to-back wins of the season. And last year, Dirk Müller won race 1, Andy Prio won race 2. Jaime Puig there on the Seat pit wall, as Ricard Riedel continues to try and defend third place, and has done so from the start from Gabriele Tarquini. Another car off there on the outside of the circuit. Looks like one of the Seat Italia cars, one of the privateer entries, or perhaps one of the GR Asia cars, Valimacher or Tom Coronel, not sure which. Not sure if we've got Alessandro Balzan still in the race either. No, I think it might be Balzan that has pulled off at the side of the circuit. Already lost Stefano D'Aste, Adam Lacco and Alan Menu. Nicola Larini's car in the pits, but that may well be able to start race 2. Tarquini's camera makes Riedel look a long way away in third place as well. Probably feels like a long way away as well when you're an Alfa Romeo driver and a Seat is driving past you and or driving away from you. P1 plus 2, 6 laps. That's the halfway mark then for Jörg Müller, leading from Andy Prio, BMWs 1 and 2, and although they're both factory salary drivers, David Leslie, there's not going to be much love lost between them. They race for different teams, and there's probably as much competition between the Schnitzer team and BMW UK as there is between those drivers and anybody else out on the track, I would have thought.
Without doubt. We've seen it last year, all the way right down to the very last race in Macau last year, when Andy actually won the championship on countback. He was racing right to the very end, and yes, they are BMWs. Andy is now, this year, 2005, a works driver. He wasn't last year, he was simply a privateer entrant with a little bit of help from BMW, but this year he's been moved up a step and he's got a lot more help from BMW. And Alfa Romeo, they can see, trying very, very hard indeed, bouncing over that curb and using more of it than you should do. There is a limit to how much of that curb you can actually use on that particular part of the circuit, and the Alfa was obviously got carried away and used a little bit more than he should have done.
Nicola Larini, he is the lead Chevy at the moment, and Chevrolet launching this weekend their brand new road car, like the race cars built by RML in the glorious, salubrious confines of Wellingborough, Northamptonshire. And if I could find my piece of paper, I could tell you exactly the nomenclature. It's something like the Lachetti R Plus. There you go, of course, why wouldn't it be? Which is launched this weekend. And 172 brake horsepower, 2-litre turbo version of the Chevrolet Lachetti. Probably not one that you can go and buy from the dealership forecourt, I would have thought. Look at that. Glorious stuff. Jörg Müller sliding a saloon car as it's supposed to be slid. And 5 laps to go for Dirk Müller as well. A little bit further back, just exiting the chicane. Prio second, Riedel still third for Seat. There's the red Alfa of Tarquini. 5th is Garcia, and he has shaken off Farfus. Now, we didn't see the Brazilian make a mistake, but he clearly has, because Jorge Hane has gone up to 6th. Or is Farfus being clever, figured out he's not going to get past, and they might drop back to 8th place and try and win race 2.
We did say earlier on about the top 8 in this race do get reversed before you get to the second race, and remembering what happened with James Thompson at Monza, he started off on the front row of the grid at Monza and went on to win that race, the second race. So maybe Farfus is thinking, well, in actual fact, if I drop back to 7th or 8th, I could be that person.
Right, he's dropped back behind Jorge Hane and behind Dirk Müller, but dropping back is a dangerous game to play, because right behind them is Fabrizio Giovanardi. And if you're in 8th and your teammate Giovanardi is in 9th with the option of passing you somewhat chancery perhaps, and starting race 2 from pole, don't think he's not going to try it. So I think maybe more likely is that Farfus made a mistake and got passed by the 2 cars that were right up behind him.
Yes, we did see that. We know from history, certainly from last year, that Farfus made a number of mistakes, and we know the interview with him that we had at Monza, he said that he really has got to stop those mistakes and concentrate on going forward. Sort of mistake he made at Hockenheim last year when he managed to wipe out the whole of the Alfa Romeo team in one corner. Really didn't go down very well within the team, so maybe he's had yet more of those little errors that he tends to make now and again.
However, at least this one hasn't involved taking out any of his teammates. Yes, they must have been looking at his bank account there to see if there are any checks recently paid in by BMW AG at any stage after the Hockenheim race. Do you take the whole team out in Germany and the BMW's win? Let's talk about things a little bit. So there's Rydell and Tarquini still at it, Garcia and Hane. So we've got the Seats in 3rd and 6th, and the sole alpha in the top half dozen is Tarquini. BMW still dominating round 3 of the World Touring Car Championship, race 1 from Magny-Cours. And there is the top Alfa Romeo, the red car of Gabriele Tarquini, sticking to the task in hand, chasing Ricard Rydell. Both former British Touring Car champions. Tarquini won for, well, who else? Alfa Romeo. Ricard for, well, who else? Volvo. There's typecasting for you. The Italian wins for an Italian team, and the Swede wins for a Swedish team. Yes, doesn't go how to explain how Ivan Muller won for Vauxhall, but not to worry. But still, just not quite able to stay the pace with the BMWs, possibly partly because the BMWs aren't fighting each other. They seem to be separated by a certain amount of time that they can't make bigger or smaller. But these 2 guys really have half an eye on each other. I still think from this distance, although they're the better part of a second apart.
Yes, they're trying very much to catch up to the BMWs, but it's just not going to happen at this moment in time. The BMWs got a great start, made good use of that first half a lap, to be honest, and got themselves a little bit of a space, and have managed to sort of stay there, stretch it a little bit. But we're talking about fractions of a second here, and over quite a long sort of time. We're getting towards the end of the race now, and still, you know, they're all within sight of each other. But here we can see Dirk Muller. He's down in something like 7th place at this moment in time, which isn't too bad considering how much extra weight he's carrying. That's him just getting past Georges Genet with one of the other C8 cars down in the Adelaide hairpin. But here's Rydell with Tarquini right behind him.
Yeah, Dirk Muller's had good progress. I mean, he didn't qualify particularly well because of that extra 45 kilos of ballast. And although 45 kilos doesn't sound like a lot, I mean, it's only a sort of reasonably small adolescent child, it still makes enough of a difference. When you're talking of hundredths of a second in the laps, then it does make enough of a difference. Oh yes, that's me. I'm on Dirk's DVD again. Jörg's DVD rather. Oops, dear. Probably best not on Dirk's DVD. Jörg Muller out front, and girlfriend and team watching from the pit lane. Andy Priaulx in 2nd position, still unable really to close, and unwilling to drop back quite clearly, just in case something does go wrong and somehow Jörg Muller miscues. And, well, perhaps if we look back to history, 2 years ago, Jörg won race 1 here and then went on to win race 2. No ballast will be applied to his car for this win before the next race, David, so he'll start as light as he does now, or as unheavy, perhaps would be a less English but slightly more accurate way of viewing it, because the others have got extra ballast, like Priaulx, like Dirk Muller, and like Antonio Garcia. But again, they have to really dispose of the front-wheel drive cars off the grid before they get through the first couple of corners, and then concentrate on each other, I think, the BMWs.
I think that's what they've done here, and that's certainly without doubt what they did off the start line here. And they got themselves away, and they've only had themselves to worry about. Andy's just not quite been able to hang on to the back of the works BMW Schnitzer team. But nevertheless, putting in a very good effort. He's got some weight, whereas Jörg Muller hasn't. and he'll be wanting to score as many points as possible. Andy said at the beginning of the season, we met him in Monza, that to start with, all he wants to do is be there up at the front, scoring points as often as possible. He knows this championship is a long championship. There's a lot of races. There's 20 races in total, and it's a long time before you get to the end. All he wants to do is keep on scoring points. There we see a front wing flapping, belonging to, it looks like Karl Rosenbladt's car, and that's one of the Crawford racing cars.
Now, Jörg Müller, in fact, may have the opportunity to make this a triple race winning weekend here. No, he's not running in the GTs or the Alpha 147 Challenge, but he did win a AM is a bit kind for it, a racing driver and journalist kart race on Saturday afternoon. Jörg was teamed with cameraman Cristiano Beretta in the pen and helmet 40-minute kart enduro stroke demolition derby, depending on whether you were racing or paying the bills afterwards. So congratulations to them. Second place, quite incredibly, Rob Huff from Chevrolet managed to take second despite being lumbered with Andrew Cotton, well-known journalist, scribe of this parish paddock. And in third place, Giuseppe Ciro, and Eurosport's even more of a handicap, Philippe Assal from our production team on site. He was in third position. So congratulations to them. But Jörg Müller then on target for race number 2 win of the weekend. I wonder whether he can turn 8th place into a race win in the second race. Dirk Müller nearly did it, didn't he, at Monza? He turned first race win and 8th place on race 2 grid into second. I wonder what magny-cours, I think perhaps there's more chance here maybe at magny-cours to work your way up from 8th to 1st than there would be at Monza, which tends to be more about throttle and horsepower. Magny-cours, I think, perhaps would reward the driver a little bit better than maybe Monza does.
I think the BMW drivers have said earlier on in the interviews this morning when we had the warm-up that magny-cours is definitely a BMW circuit. They feel it's the right circuit for their cars. They feel that they're very, very strong with the BMW here at magny-cours compared to, say, what the Alfa Romeos normally are at Monza, for instance. Although I have to say the BMW must have been doing an awful lot of work on their cars over the winter, because they seem to be strong everywhere they go now. They were strong at Monza, which they never used to be. They've always been strong here at magny-cours, and they're looking very, very strong here at this moment in time with Jörg Müller running away with it basically at the front, and Andy Prio making a very good start to take his second place. And only after those two then you start with the front wheel drive cars, first of all of the Seat. And Seat have always said since we started talking at the beginning of the year that magny-cours is a very good circuit for them. They've had a very good 3-day test here earlier in the year during their winter test, and they said that they went very well here. They were very happy with their test, and they reckon they were doing times as good as what the BMW was. Well, certainly they're doing very well indeed, because they're currently lying third and on a podium position at this moment in time, but not quite as good as the two BMWs up front.
Well, the big problem, what's really changed, is it's part of the ever-changing nature of magny-cours. There's something in the track surface here, in the tarmac that they race on, that really, really reacts very quickly to sunshine, and there is lots of sunshine this weekend as Jörg Müller romps to race 1 victory. Track temperature 60 degrees. Flag there waved by Richard Veronk, the former King of the Mountains. So Jörg Müller wins, Andy Prio second for BMW. Rydell still happy with the podium. He said he would be. Now, of course, he won't be, because he wanted to win. Tarquini fourth, Garcia fifth, and Augusto Farfus and Jordi Hane will start on the front row of the reverse grid, with Peter Terting, the best of the rest, in 9th ahead of Giovanardi. Tomo down in 11th place behind Fab Gio, bit of a shame. Mark Enrici passing Karl Rosenblatt on the penultimate lap for top independent spot.
Jörg Müller, first of all, congratulations, but was it an easy race for you, because it was quite uneventful?
No, it's never easy. I mean, it was very hot outside, and the tires dropped quite a lot, I think, on all of the cars. So I really had to fight to keep my car in front. Yeah, but I'm quite happy. Monsieur Virenque gave me a winner T-shirt before the race. So thanks to Monsieur Virenque.
And do you think this really is an unbeatable track for the BMWs? Because in history, well, in the last 2 years anyway.
I hope so. Wait for the second race and we'll see.
Thank you, Jörg.
So Jürgen Müller claims that top spot on the podium, and in 60-degree track temperatures, it's never going to be easy for the front-wheel drive cars to match the rear drive cars, because the front end you're looking at now slows the car down and steers. The back end produces all the horsepower traction.
You did a great start, so that was your race for you, because did you have to fight off other people as well?
Well, at first I thought Ricard was going to push me quite hard, but I managed to make a good break on the first couple of laps, and then it was a question of trying to catch Jorg and just maintain a good rhythm for the whole race. So didn't make any mistakes. It was difficult. About halfway through the race, somebody dropped some oil, made it quite slippery, but overall just a consistent job, and I'm happy to be second. We've still got a bit of work to do.
Thank you.
Mainly on the telephone to Bavaria, saying, oi, how come we haven't got the parts that the Schnitzer team have? At least that's what the RBM team thought was the deal at Monza. Andy Preo, though, in second place, and as he said at the beginning of the season, the game plan until the final race weekend is to get as many points every time you're on the track as you possibly can. And when you get to the last race weekend at Macau, that's when you worry about the title.
This is the first podium for Seat, which is great, but are you a little bit disappointed because you started second and didn't finish second?
Well, after the winter testing, we thought that the car would be very, very quick here at magny-cours, but we realized that the BMW has a little bit of an edge, and halfway or 1/3 through the race, I started to have a little bit of difficulties with the front. Being a front-wheel drive car, it pushes the tires that little bit harder, and this track is quite hard on tires, so I was quite pleased with the podium anyway, and happy for Seat.
Thank you.
There you go. You see, you can't keep a good man down. He said before the race we'd be happy with the podium. He's got a podium. He's unhappy because he didn't win it. You can't stop them trying, can you? So Seat then, the top front-wheel drive cars, but the difference between now and winter testing, probably about 30 or 40 degrees of track temperature. And of course, it's going to be scorching at Silverstone in a fortnight's time as well. So cyclist Richard Virenque wishing the best to pole man Jürgen Müller, and he was there at the end to wave the flag on the pole man as Jürgen Müller took his second race weekend victory, his first in his actual race car. And some tough battles further back. We didn't see that one, did we? Giovanardi getting into contact with Peter Terting. But it was all about Jürgen Müller and BMW. And will race 2 be more of the same? Join us after the break. Find out.
The FIA World Touring Car Championships with LG. Life is good.
Welcome back live to magny-cours round 4 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship for 2005, and a couple of holes on the grid after a little dramatic moment or two. Pole sitter for race 2, the man who finished 8th, Augusto Farfus. Alongside him, the man who finished 7th, Jordi Hene. Top 8 in the first race get reversed for race 2. Dirk Müller still leads the championship for Andy Preo. Race 1 winner Jürgen Müller in 3rd position, a point ahead of Antonio Garcia now, so a change for that. Tarquini ahead of Garcia as well by a single point, behind Garcia rather by a single point, but closing in there. BMW lead from Alfa with Seat and Chevrolet 3rd and 4th in the manufacturers standing. So Dirk Müller, David Leslie continues to lead the championship, but by finishing in 5th position, has 6th position rather, has limited some of the damage from those who were ahead of him on the grid.
I think that's very well done, considering he was carrying 45 kilos of ballast. Then for him that's a pretty good result, and it's put him towards the front of the grid when it comes to this next race. He's going to start off the second row in actual fact, so in 3rd position, so he'll be looking at it as an overall weekend package rather than just one race, which is the first race he's been out there and scored some points, a couple of points, in order to keep him ahead at 20 points in the championship, with Andy Preo now up at 17 and his teammate Jürgen Müller in 15.
Now, of course, Dirk Müller is really the best placed driver at the moment of the BMW trio, because he starts 3rd with 2 front-wheel drive cars on row 1, and if he can't get around them into the first corner and lead the first lap, I'd be very surprised, despite that extra ballast, most of which is probably sitting over the rear wheels, I would have thought, because that's a sensible place to put it. The others, Andy Preo and Jürgen Müller, 7th and 8th on the grid, so they've got 5 of the 6 cars in front of them, the front-wheel drive cars. They've got to try and get through, and I don't think they'll get past all of them without having to have a couple that they've actually got to overtake in racing trim as opposed to in Renault-style launching off the grid trim. So Dirk Muller, at the moment, we might have a Muller winning both races. It might quite conceivably be certainly leading for the early going, Dirk Muller here, but that of course assumes that he gets past Augusto Farfus and Jordi Canet, the front row starters, without making some kind of error. So top 8 then are the front 8 reversed, but we've got a couple of gaps on the grid. Looks as though Sasha Plodel may have been missing, and possibly Stefano Valli hadn't made it out onto the dummy grid as well, towards the back of the grid. Top independent, as we briefly touched on, Marc Enrici just got by Carl Rosenblad. Vali Markkila was 3rd of the independents, with Alex Zanardi between Rosenblad and himself. Vali Markkila, the man who sat on the independents pole as the fastest man in qualifying. Not bad for a man hot out of Formula Ford and in his first race with a roof over his head. So Rickard Rydell then sitting, well, pretty-ish, I suppose, after 3rd in race 1, but with the prospect of 2 BMWs behind him, getting in the way as he's trying to make his way past Tarquini, Garcia and the rest of them in front of him. And there is Andy Priaulx, who finished 2nd in race 1. Jürgen Müller, the winner of race 1. Time to take a short commercial break. We'll be back ready for the start of the warm-up lap. Stay with us live from Magny-Cours. Welcome back live to Magny-Cours. Round 4 of the World Touring Car Championship about to get underway. Cars have left the grid. They're on their warm-up lap now. Augusto Farfus and Jordi Canet leading them round 8th and 7th in race 1. Start on the front row of the grid. Dirk Muller, the points leader, and Antonio Garcia on row 2. Should get by them before the first corner. Tarquini and Rydell, great battle in race 1. That'll be resumed in race 2. As Priaulx and Jürgen Müller, the race 1 winner, will probably get by them from the start. Then Peter Terting, Fabrizio Giovanardi, they had a good battle. James Thompson, the 4th of the Alphas. The top 2 privateers, Henrici and Rosenblad in their BMWs, ahead of Vali Markkila in the Seat. They were the top 3 privateers. Nicola Lorini, 17th on the grid, 19th for Rob Huff, the 2nd of the Chevy drivers. And Alain Menu, we saw his car in trouble. Tommy Coronel's car damaged in the morning warm-up, and an engine change as well for that one. So struggling here in the GR Asia team. Alain Menu will line up 28th on the grid. Stefano D'Aste, Thomas Klenker and Adam Lacko, we saw all having problems in race 1. And as we watch the long crocodile of cars weaving their way down the hill, warming the tyres up, I see only 2 Chevrolets, mind you. There are more coming round the corner. There is Klenker, D'Aste, Jaeger. I don't see an Alain Menu. So it looks as though the Swiss will not start this race either. What a tough start to the season. Monica Sips, the boss of the Alfa Romeo racing team, nay Auto Delta, nay whatever they were called before Auto Delta, I forget, Entec. The Alfa Romeo factory team run by Monica and husband Mauro. Rickard Rydell ready to take the start from the middle of the top half dozen. Thomas Klenker from the tail of the field. Ready to get round 4 of the World Touring Car Championship underway at Magny-Cours. Thomas Klenker coming to the tail of the field, finally gets to weave through the chicane. But on pole position, Augusto Farfus in the red Alfa Romeo, Jordi Canet alongside in the multicoloured Seat with the yellow nose. Red lights go on, the revs rise, the clutches bite, away they go. Here come the BMWs from behind. It's Dirk Muller, the points leader, in the white nose, and the blue nose of Antonio Garcia. They get through, but a storming start from Farfus means that it will not be a BMW that leads into the Adelaide hairpin for the first time. Great drive through as well from Gabriele Tarquini. The red Alfa Romeo gets by Rickard Rydell, which he couldn't do for the entire 12-lap distance of race 1, does it away from the start. This is his bumper cam chasing Garcia, and Garcia is chasing Dirk Muller, and Dirk Muller, with 45 kilos of penalty weight from success at Monza, is struggling to try and stay with Augusto Farfus, the young Brazilian giving himself every opportunity to win this race. Rydell sees a lunge down the outside come from the Alfa Romeo. and that is the number 2 car of Gabriele Tarquini. Big bunch together, a little bit of nudging and boring. One of the Seats gets pushed out on the grass, and that yellow strip, I think, is Peter Terting's windscreen strip, but still Augusto Farfus leading. David, he's really got to try and make a break now before his tyres go off.
We were talking about it in race 1, thinking that maybe he was dropping back or maybe he made a mistake. We weren't too sure, but he ended up in 8th place in order to try and get that pole position, and he certainly seems to be making very good use of it at this moment in time. He got a very good start off the line. He really did get that car off the line, and the BMWs weren't able to beat him to the first corner. So he's going to try and use this now and try and stretch that lead, just as the BMWs did in the first race. He wants to try and stretch himself away. He's got a clear road in front of him, but here at the back we can see that Honda right behind that Seat. That was the 2 cars that had coming together before. Colgiaggio had a bit of a bang with Tetring with that car, and unfortunately I've seen him do this more than once.
Misidentified it. In fact, that is Ricard Rydell he's knocking the door panels with, because the top Seat at the moment is Jordi Gené. I got myself all confused there with me Seats being in the wrong order, but it's Farfus that leads race for lap 1. There is in 5th place Jörg Müller, our race 1 winner. This is the view of Antonio Garcia's bumper from Gabriele Tarquini, who is not the top Alfa at the moment. Farfus for Alfa, Müller, Dirk for BMW, Garcia for BMW, then Tarquini, then the white car number 42 of Jörg Müller, our race 1 winner. Then it is Ricard Rydell, I beg your pardon, Jordi Gené, then Andy Priaulx, and then Gabriele Tarquini. Ricard Rydell has dropped down the order a little bit, so Rydell is now in Group 2 of the chasing pack as the BMW takes a look. Dirk Müller hot on the heels of Augusto Farfus, and that 45 kilos weight penalty bringing him right up behind the back bumper. And here we go, the move is on again. Alfa Romeo trying to get alongside the BMW but couldn't. Jörg Müller came around the outside of Gabriele Tarquini there in a classic Adelaide hairpin move. Tarquini was fighting back, you saw from the onboard, couldn't do it. Jörg Müller, the race 1 winner, up to 4th on lap 2 of this 4th race in the World Touring Car Championship. It was barely time to draw a breath all weekend at Monza, and magny-cours is producing just as exciting racing. This championship is getting closer and closer and tighter and tighter. Farfus for Alfa, Dirk Müller, the white BMW, Antonio Garcia, the blue and white BMW, then Jörg Müller in 4th, and Dirk Müller looks again around Farfus, really trying to pressurize the Brazilian into a mistake. I think he feels that there is definitely a weakness in Augusto Farfus that he can exploit, and he needs to hurry up because there is now a queue behind our race leader, and Dirk is taking the long way around at the Lycée hairpin. Can't get through there. He may have left the door open for 2 more BMWs to get through. No, just gets his nose back in front. David, this is classic cut and thrust racing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars with not a car length between them.
Yeah, we thought that originally that Farfus would pull away, but he hasn't been able to do that, and they've all sort of closed up on him. He seems to be the one who's holding everybody up, and you've just got this big long queue of cars queued up behind Farfus, all wanting past him, all wanting past each other, and nobody's going to give away at all.
Well, away from the grid, the BMWs start quickly. They ate up a Seat or 2 each. Look at that, 1 on either side. Poor Jordi Gené had to stand on the brake pedal because there was nothing but metal in front of him and he couldn't find a gap to go through. Jörg Müller has been eased a little further down the order. Look, he's got Garcia on the outside of him now. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're 2 abreast, 2 by 2. So that's Dirk Müller in front of us as we ride with Jörg. Farfus is still leading and defending hard, but as the race goes on in these 60-degree track temperatures, the front tyres of the Alfa Romeo will not hold on as well as the BMWs. He'll be finding it scrabbling wider and wider away from where he's pointing it at the apex of the corner, trying to get up to the curbs. He's going to have to aim further and further inside at the grass to get it to go all the way there. And the BMWs, well, they're not sitting and waiting. They are really pushing, really pressurizing him into making that mistake. But Farfus still holds on. Garcia in 4th, 5th is Tarquini. You can see them on the inset picture as we ride on board with Dirk Müller. Great action, great pictures here. Look at this, it really puts you in the passenger seat effectively, I suppose. And Andy Priaulx now trying to get around Tarquini off the Adelaide hairpin. Monica Sips, the far face in the picture there on the right hand side. This is not an encouraging performance here for the Alfa Romeo team. Farfus with the BMWs behind, and Jörg looking there at Dirk almost to get inside him off the Lycée hairpin as they all thunder over the curbs.
These cars really are, as we said, absolutely nose to tail. Nobody's giving way to anybody else. Everybody's trying to get the last little inch. If anybody tries to make a move to go round the outside of somebody, then somebody else will dive down the inside of them, and all of a sudden you lose a place. So, you know, it's a nose to tail. It is a lot of cars. There's some 30-odd cars started this race, and here you can see something like 10 or 11 cars fighting for the lead, nose to tail.
It's like being on the Autostrada, isn't it? Jörg Müller closing up. Look at the aerodynamic effect. He's actually almost rubbing the back of Dirk Muller's car. They're still side by side. Dirk trying to go around. Can't get outside Alphas. That's it. Alpha's tyres finally gave up. And look at Tarquini. Tarquini knows not even a half chance, but a quarter chance when he sees one. And behind the Dior specs, the impassive face of Monica Sips. But she doesn't have to express anything. It's all there. Tarquini locking up as well, or smoke rubbing off something. He must have had a rub with somebody. Left front fender is rubbing on the tyre under braking. Farfus's tyres couldn't hold on, and Tomo around the outside of Jordi Hane. Can he hold it? He is a man who can hold a slide. Son of a rallying father. He's got those genes.
That was Jordi Hane just getting inside and giving a bit of a tap to Thompson there. Thompson back of the car coming out. Thompson was able to hold on to that. That was good driving, hanging onto a car that somebody's trying to push off the circuit with.
Dirk Müller, Jörg Müller, Antonio Garcia, BMW 1, 2, 3. Then Gabriele Tarquini, Augusto Farfus, Andy Prio, Jordi Hane, Roberto Colciago's got himself up there in the thick of it against all the best factory cars. And Farfus, wow, I tell you what, Dirk just held on there somehow. He was being knocked straight as Farfus just shot across the corner, and he somehow held on despite all that weight penalty. He is still our race leader, but I think Jörg Müller is poised, placed perfectly to take the lead. He's looking already across the start-finish line. Look, the shadow shows that Dirk is just about 3/4 of a length ahead. Jörg tucks back in behind. Daren't even breathe the throttle here. He's got to keep it buried, or the Alphas will be all over him. Never mind Garcia, but he's got to get by Dirk, and here's the chance. Adelaide hairpin. Look, he's closing on this long run through Gulf and down to the Adelaide hairpin. Dirk knows it's coming. He knows there's not much he can do about it. He'll have to give up at some stage. Jörg's inside him. Now Dirk has to defend against Garcia. Prio's having a look at Tarquini. Can't do it. Can Jörg get through? Yes. Can Dirk hold off Garcia? Yes. And the Alphas, look, Farfus and Tarquini side by side. Farfus is coming back.
Farfus is trying very hard to get past Tarquini.
He's trying very hard to have a crash with somebody at the moment, maybe.
And Prio was just sitting there waiting to see if he could pick a place up. Prio is just trying to get forward, just is frightened to get involved between these two Alfa Romeos in case he gets taken off. He knows he needs to score points. He knows he needs to stay on this circuit to keep on going, and getting stuck in between two Italians in Alfa Romeos really isn't the right thing to do.
Yeah, especially when one of them has, as John Brooks would say, previous in that department. So Jörg Müller leads, Dirk Müller second, and struggling to hold off Antonio Garcia. Now Dirk can defend like nobody's business. Let's have a look here. Replay down at the chicane, and that is Alex Zanardi and Vali Makela. Broken left wheel after that contact for Makela, and that will have been as a result of, not the cause of, that contact. And Zanardi, well, just about holding on there. So too is Dirk Müller. But look at this, Tarquini really feeling the pressure of Farfus, and in sixth position at the moment. Well, I guess Andy Prio might perhaps hope that something does happen between Tarquini and Farfus. Just a little nudge to rub them both out wide, and he can slip up the inside. You never know. Seventh place, Jordi Hane. Eighth, Roberto Colciago. Ninth, James Thompson. But they're further back. In fact, Tomo's got back past Colciago. Either that or it's Giovanardi. Not sure which. Prio's car starting to step out a little at the back oversteering. Looking back from the Seat of Ricardo Rydell.
He's managed to drop quite a way down. I think he's got eaten up in the melee in the first 2 or 3 laps, and somehow or other he's managed to drop down to 11th.
Prio looking to the inside in the back of the picture. Can't get through, but that's a mistake by Tarquini. So Farfus does get by. Prio can't. Every time he tries to make a move, there's one of those wretched red machines in the way as they go past the abandoned car of Vali Makela. It's still BMW 1, 2, 3. Tarquini chasing Farfus. That's the view. Join us for more in just a second. 27 cars started this race, 26 continue as the BMWs lead the top three, but Dirk Muller in second place defending hard. Andy Prio in amongst the Alfa Romeos. This is Antonio Garcia with the blue highlights on his BMW, trying to pass our championship leader. Huge lock up at the Adelaide hairpin, looked right, looked left, and there was still no safe way to cross. Right behind is Gabriele Tarquini's viewpoint. That's Andy Prio, who's got past Tarquini and chasing Augusto Farfus. Here's the Alfa team boss, Monica Sips. Well, Prio still trying to get past Farfus. Fourth is better than fifth in terms of points. And of course, if he gets to fourth and latches onto Garcia, fourth is effectively the back of the battle for second. Whereas behind Farfus, it certainly isn't, because he is adrift of the BMWs, and Farfus must be the weak link in the chain at the moment. And Prio's got to really pressurise that, David Leslie. He's got to push hard as... Oh, Gabriele Tarquini is slowing down. Hori Kane moves up into sixth position at the hairpin. Either that or Tarquini's having problem slowing down. Here he is. He's still chasing at speed across the line. That's Kane in front in the Seat Toledo Sport in one of its last races, as the new Leon is to be introduced soon. Replay from Tarquini's viewpoint, couldn't get it slowed down in time, and the Seat just lunged through on the inside. He wasn't there off the Lycée hairpin the previous corner. So, was that Steve Saleen alongside... I don't think, very Steve Salini looking sort of face. I'm not quite sure it was. Quick glimpse of him on the Seat pit wall alongside.
And that's Prio eventually getting past Farfus, who's sat there and followed him for quite a few laps now, and eventually he's managed to get past down on the Adelaide hairpin.
Jaime Puig was the name I was looking for there. It couldn't get up. Anyway, so yes, Prio does move up. He is now up into fourth place, and the most important thing is to get latched onto Antonio Garcia, because I know that Andy thinks he's got more speed than Garcia has in him and in the car, and if he can get there in fourth place on the back of the BMW Italia Spain car, then third place, and who knows, maybe even second place ahead of Dirk Muller is a possibility. 7 laps they are working on now, and inside Rydell comes Carl Rosenblatt, and right behind, oh my goodness, and look on the left-hand side of the picture, on the right-hand side of the driver, that is... Well, it's not Nicola Larini, it's Colciago with Peter Terting, Ricard Rydell, Colciago. There is Carl Rosenblatt, and right behind is Nicola Larini. Look at this. Now, if Larini gets the brakes in the 22 Chevy, he could move from below the fold on the paper in the lap scorers to above the fold in the paper. There could be 3 places on offer there. So this is some good racing, and look at that. He's got Rob Huff next up, or 2 cars behind him. So there is Peter Terting, Roberto Colciago, the red and white Honda, and he and Carl Rosenblatt are the only non-factory built cars in this group, and in fact in the top 15. So they are both putting in some pretty sterling effort. Look at Larini pulling alongside the BMW. He's got the line on Rosenblatt. Now this is very encouraging, David. In race 2, the Chevrolets are really starting to pick up the pace. I know that you were joking with Mark Busfield, the team manager, this morning about the 165 jobs on the job sheet. How many have they got done? They've got a few worked through, certainly, haven't they? It is looking better as Prio, true to form, catches Garcia in 1 lap and goes straight by at the Adelaide hairpin. Prio's third. Next target, the heavily laden with success ballast Dirk Muller for second position. Jörg Muller leads, and he's pulling away now, the race 1 winner, but Prio is the man on the charge. Did well, I think, to avoid trouble with the Alphas earlier on, to keep his powder dry, not get hit, and as the Alphas tyres went away, then press home the advantage the BMW has, and now he's reaping those rewards. Patience, patience, patience.
He certainly knows where the strengths of the BMW are, and he's using them to the best of his ability, and he just had to sit and wait for a little while in the middle of the race to dispose of or quietly get past the 2 red Alfa Romeos. Having done that, he was able to quickly to sort of drive away from them, and as you said, within 1 lap caught Garcia. And if you catch somebody quickly and you get past them straight away, it's great. If you catch somebody, you don't get past them, you tend to get stuck behind them, and he obviously, when he was coming up behind Garcia, caught him very quickly. I think probably before Garcia realised it, all of a sudden there he was beside him and past him, and I'm sure he'll be wanting to try and do the same thing to Dirk Muller. If he can do that and get himself back up into second second place behind Jörg again, that would be a fantastic result for Andy this weekend.
Tarquini's onboard view showed us Giovanardi. Gio has gone by Gabrielli, and saw that battle developing in the background. Top Alpha at the moment, then Farfus, and behind those two, the next Alpha you can see, that's the reigning British Touring Car champion James Thompson in lowly for Alfa Romeo, 9th place. 7th, 8th and 9th are those three Alphas. Top Alpha, Farfus still in 5th place, and the way his tyres went off in the lead, I have to say I'm surprised that he managed to hang on. 3 to go, and Priaulx needs to make the move on Dirk Muller on this lap if it's going to happen. But Muller in the middle of the road, he's taking well, middle and leg there, and Andy having to go down the offside. Doesn't work for him there. Dirk knows all the tricks that the BMW has to offer, and despite the extra weight, he's getting the retardation done just enough to hold off Priaulx. But Andy has the advantage in terms of the competitiveness of the car. He's carrying less in the way of success ballast than Dirk Muller, but well, not an awful lot less. He still also has a bit of ballast on board the car after a successful weekend at Monza. So Jörg Muller, 2 years ago, winner of both races. You're looking at the guys who won last year. Dirk won race 1, Andy won race 2, and Giovanardi, well, 2002's double race winning weekend for Alfa probably seems quite a long way away by now, and so it is. That's very much history. The days when the red wedge could just pull out of the slipstream of anything, accelerate by and disappear into the distance, no matter what the incline or gradient, track conditions, ambient weather or anything was. Those are all long gone. BMW have caught them, and Seat have caught them as well, and it looks as though Chevrolet and perhaps the Yaspor Honda as well are also doing a good job of riding the wave up towards the front of the field. Battle for second then. Priaulx all over Dirk Muller this lap. Surely he's got a good drive here. Now he's got to keep his powder dry. There's no point trying to look to the inside. Not a wise man would go down the inside. That's like trying to pass on the inside at Island at Alton Park. It's a short trip to a fairly quick stop.
It's the acceleration out of this corner here, out of this right-hander. He needs to get a good acceleration out of this corner and a good slipstream along this big straight here. We see the leader now. That was Jörg just going down, and here's Dirk with Andy right behind. And this is where he needs to be really strong. If he can pull out of his slipstream down into this, the Adelaide hairpin, then that's an opportunity for him. But lots and lots of defensive driving by Dirk as he goes in there, right down the inside he went.
I haven't seen such bizarre looks at a hairpin since I last watched a race at Mallory Park. Goodness me. Dirk Muller on the white line, Andy Priaulx looking inside, outside, up the middle, anywhere he could. Great defensive work from Dirk Muller, and to give them their due, they have not yet been caught by Antonio Garcia either, so they are still clearly a little quicker than the Spaniard. But Farfus is closing in on the 4th place BMW, but not quickly enough. Well, Andy certainly gave it a try there. It's not the only passing place by any means on this circuit, but it is the most obvious and the most easily spotted. Problems. Oh, that's a shame. Horikane has blown a tyre. Surely that, no, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's... What's he hit?
It's certainly some body work rubbing on the. It's like the wing has come loose at the back of the.
It's folded
the wing's come loose and folded
over the top of the tyre. Now, how on earth has that happened anyway? Hane in trouble in 6th place. And Priaulx locking up heavily behind Dirk Muller. He's got to be careful of Antonio Garcia. 3rd is better than 4th. It's not as good as 2nd, but it's better than 4th. A point might be all that goes between winning and losing this championship. Last year, of course, Dirk Muller and Andy Priaulx finished the season level on points. Priaulx only won the European title as a result of having won 5 races to Dirk's 3. So every single point, every time you go out on the track, could be the difference between being a champion and being one of the other guys that nobody quite remembers. Dirk Muller still holding off Priaulx, still staying right on the run down to the Adelaide hairpin. There's no way through on the inside. Priaulx's right up behind him.
He's going to touch him.
He's got to stay right with him. He can't go out wide because Garcia will come slotting up the inside and he'll get knocked down with not enough laps to get back. So he has to stay tight to the right line rather than the racing line, which would be on the driver's left as they come down there. And it's really a rock and a hard place at the moment. He can't force the issue with Dirk because he can't leave the door open for Garcia, or God forbid Garcia and Farfus to get by him.
Yeah, it's getting very edgy towards the end of this race, and Andy's now trying everything he knows to somehow or other get past Dirk nice and cleanly without any problems. There's none of this pushing and shoving and knocking people off at all with Andy. He's one of these guys who'll always do it, you know, as a gentleman, shall we say, and he'll be trying everything. Now, even here, Dirk will sure stay on the inside, yes, very much covering the inside and leaving Andy on the outside. There's getting very, very little time left now for a change of position to happen here, and Andy looks as though he's going to have to settle for third rather than make that all-important charge up to second place.
Well, again, you know, the difference between second and third might be crucial for Dirk Muller in the end, but Jörg Muller with a double race win will certainly have closed on the lead pair in the championship. Dirk holds off Andy Priaulx to the line, Garcia fourth and Farfus fifth. Well, that's a very fair... Oh my goodness me! Dirk Muller sideways across the line and gets collected by one of the Alphas. What? Nobody saw that. What was going on with that? Sitting down on the right rear.
I don't know, he seemed to be spinning at some reason. Dirk, I don't know why, but he seemed to be spinning
now,
as he was going down the straight, and then all of a sudden the Alpha, as he was coming past, just happened to catch him as he was going past. Here we are. And he's been, I don't know why he was being turned around.
Was he doing a stoppie in front of the team and Andy Priaulx couldn't stop and avoid him? I don't know. I have no idea what happened there.
For some reason he was on the inside of the circuit, and he was turning around. I seen Andy right behind him, and with the spin, when he spun round, the Alfa Romeo had nowhere to go, and that was a problem.
Now, this might be a problem for Dirk Muller. Jörg Muller, our race winner, on his slow down lap without any dramas. Dirk Muller is under a 4-race suspension of a 10 grid position drop. It was Augusto Farfus, I'm sure then, that hit Dirk Muller's car, or could not avoid hitting Dirk Muller's car. So if the stewards for some reason decide that that was Dirk's fault, next race out he is going to be dropped 10 grid spots. And that would be a big drama for him. The big drama, of course, was what on earth happened. He still finished second, Andy Priaulx third, Garcia, Farfus, Hene, Giovanardi and Tarquini in the points. Thompson in 9th place, Terting, Rydell. Colciago, the top independent driver, no. And of course he's not, is he? So it's Tom Coronel ahead of Carl Rosenblad, 14th and 15th. Nicola Larini, 13th. I think that's the best result for a Chevy so far this season. Good job, Nicola. Welcome back live to Parc Fermé at Magny-Cours. Jörg Muller in the distinctive helmet, taking a well-deserved double victory. Tom Coronel, top independent again for the GR Asia team. Great job there.
That's a fantastic job for Tom Coronel, because in this morning's warm-up his car was really destroyed at the back when his car stopped after having ripped a sump off it over the curbs and parked up on the side, and then having Larini's Alfa Romeo and one of the privateer Alfa Romeos running into the back and absolutely destroying the back of that car. For the GR Asia team to get that car up and running, and to him to finish the top privateer, an absolutely fantastic day after a really terrible start for the GR Asia team.
Jörg Muller looking like he's worked hard for that win, and there's Andy Priaulx also looking pretty warm and red-faced, but not as red-faced as, well, I don't know. What happened between Dirk Muller, Andy Priaulx? Well, we know what happened to Augusto Farfus. He couldn't avoid Dirk Muller's stationary car. And you saw Jörg there, his girlfriend, trying to explain what happened to Dirk, clearly, was the question there. And the answer is, dunno. He just ended up facing backwards with Priaulx, possibly hitting the back of him, possibly just missing the back of him. Really don't know. We've got to speak to these people and find out, though. There is Jörg Muller, double race winner. So 2 years ago, winner of both races, and again here in 2005. Augusto Farfus, the damage there on the Alfa, clear to see, trying to explain to the marshal in a combination of Brazilian, Italian and French what was going on, probably using English then. And Hoddy, well, being debriefed by the team there. Välimäkilä's car with that broken left front suspension. Shame there. So a bit of a mixed afternoon then for the GR Asia team, but Tom Coronel, his teammate, winning the Independence Trophy for that 4th race. So just to recap then, the Mullers first and second. Jörg Muller, who won race 1, and Dirk Muller, the championship leader, in 2nd place. Andy Priaulx third, BMW 1, 2, 3 and 4, with Antonio Garcia 4th. Now, you see, it doesn't look like he got hit in the back. You'd have to be hit pretty hard in the back to spin you round in a straight line. Farfus's car clearly tanked. It's got a big dent in the door, and you could see quite clearly the rear suspension broken as the wheel hit Dirk's car. I mean, he had nowhere to go, and who expects to see a car spinning sideways across you at front of the line? Very, very bizarre. Very bizarre. There's the pro team gathering round. Stefano D'Aste did not start race 2, unfortunately, so they only had one car in the lineup. Augusto Farfus, well, one of the Alfa Romeo Racing Team boys there with him. Commiserations to him. He had a good race going. He raced really hard. He led early on, as he had to do from pole position. Really tried to make the most of it. Got passed by a couple of BMWs, got passed by his teammates, came back. I mean, really fought hard. And
he had a great race. He really was in there fighting all the time. He was fighting the car, and as well with the tyres wearing out much quicker than the rear-wheel drive cars, and basically did a good job, and had done nothing wrong. Even when he crossed the line, he'd done nothing wrong. He was just very unfortunate to get caught with that BMW was spinning after they'd crossed the finishing line. We've yet to find out exactly why that was actually spinning.
Well, we're going to hear from Müller now. It's our double race winner, Jörg Müller.
Jörg Müller, it's a bit like in 2003, 2 victories in one day, so it's pretty perfect for you, I'd say.
I think it was 3 victories in 2 days. Yesterday I won a go-kart race. No, I was so happy with my car. We just used the new set of tires in the second race because I thought I was fast enough to do it with used sets in the first race. So just a perfect race. I was lucky with the overtaking, so happy.
So does this mean now you're back in the run for the championship?
There's still 16 races to go, isn't it? So such a lot of things can happen. I mean, the only bad thing is now I get weight, but I would love to carry 60 kilos for the rest of the season, to be true.
Thank you.
Yeah, they would take a 60 kilo, which is the maximum if it meant winning every time out. Jörg Müller, as ever, dissecting things absolutely accurately. 16 races left to go, and for the next 15, nobody's going to be thinking about the championship. Really can't afford to. So Jörg Müller, done and dusted, seen it all from out front. What happened in his mirror, though? Let's see if Dirk Müller can shed a little light on the scene.
Dirk Müller, a pretty tough battle with Andy Priol. Can you tell us a bit more why? Is it because of the ballast you had?
Yes, for sure. I mean, I had a really tough weekend with 45 kilos in the car. I had to change completely my driving style and setup of the car. And the first race was really tough, and the second one was unbelievable.
Now, just after the finish line, something a little funny happened, didn't it? Can you explain what happened just in front of the stand?
It was not funny to me. I'm scared right now, actually, and I got problems the last couple of laps and got big vibration, and I wasn't sure what it is actually. And I crossed over to my team and wanted to really, to be happy, and showed my hands. And while this something really hard broke in the rear, and I lost the rear of the car and spun in front of the pit wall. And honestly, I don't know what happened actually. So I'm really scared actually.
Thank you.
Well, better across the finish line when he's slowing down than after the race. Well, here he comes. Bang, something goes. So Andy Priol did miss him. Well, let's hear from the reigning European Touring Car champion then, as we see the replay of that dramatic post-race incident. Something going at the back of Dirk Müller's car. It seemed like the most obvious explanation, but you can never tell with these things. Here's Andy Priol.
Andy Priol, a more eventful race than the first one. Can you just explain a little bit more on how tough it was for you to fight behind Dirk?
Yeah, it was pretty tough because you don't want to take another BMW off the track, but the lines and his defensive lines were so defensive that there was no way through apart from crashing, which I'm not prepared to do. So I had to follow him really. I was a lot faster, and obviously I think I could have maybe had a podium, I had a second place, not a problem. But Jörg's happy to carry 60 kilos all year, and I'm happy to be light actually.
Now, 2004 champion, are you still, your objective for this year is what? Because you seem to be getting points in every single race.
Absolutely. Don't give my strategy away. But no, I'm fighting for the World Championship. I want to win. And we need to improve our performance at the moment. But we're not far away, and we'll keep trying until we get what we want.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry about that, Andy. I didn't realise that was a secret. Get points in every race and hope to be the champion right at the end. So dramatic action in rounds 3 and 4 of the World Touring Car Championship. We'll be back with more in just a second. Stay with us. podium for the winning driver and manufacturer of round 4 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship, and indeed of round 3. Jörg Müller winning race 1 and race 2 here at Magny-Cours. Dirk Müller alongside the championship leader, closest to camera, Tom Coronel on the top step. He was the independence winner, and there's Andy Priaulx third in the second race here. Bruno von der Steeg from the ACO on the microphone on the podium here. Man who is the press officer and commentates at Le Mans for the 24 Hours of Le Mans and for the Le Mans Endurance Series. Something that these drivers also know plenty about. First met Dirk and Jörg years ago racing in the well, in Dirk's case, in the American Le Mans Series, racing as a Porsche factory driver in those days, and Jörg racing for BMW for many years. Raced in their LMV12s for the Schnitzer team, and then the V8 GT3R BMW, and now in their S2000 car. Tommy Coronel, well, I think the list of what he hasn't raced is probably shorter than what he has raced. And the words Tom Coronel and Party Animal never far away at the end of the season or when there's something to celebrate either, is it? You always read stories like, and then there was Tom Coronel in a dress, or, you know, of that ilk, don't you? I remember meeting him at a party at the end of last year, and yes, what you've described is exactly right. Tom and parties do go together. Yeah. He does enjoy them. Indeed he does. So a welcome return to Magny-Cours for Coronel, because of course this race weekend last year saw his fiancée Pauline Swartz heavily injured in a practice crash, and glad to report that she has made a full recovery from that. Unfortunately, Mrs. Haven, who injured herself very much the same time, is still wandering around in a leg frame, but not to worry. So there's our 3 BMW drivers that swept the podium in race 2, and Tom Coronel in his GR Asia Seat Toledo Sport, the top independent in the 4th round of the World Touring Car Championship. So as they get busy with the fizzy, just time to remind you that next time out it is at Silverstone. They will be racing rounds 5 and 6 of the championship in a fortnight's time. We'll be there enjoying scorching May sunshine in Northamptonshire, and hopefully to rival the action here on the international circuit at Silverstone. It should be very busy indeed. Dirk Müller now the leader by 4 from teammate Jörg, 2 ahead of Andy Priaulx, who slips to 3rd. Antonio Garcia making it 4 BMWs leading the points. Then Tarquini, Thompson and Farfus, and BMW starting to ease a nice margin away from Alfa Romeo. But I think David Leslie, Jörg Müller said it best, 16 races to go. This is not the time to start thinking about championships in any way, shape or form. No, it's an awful long way to go in this championship. 10 points for a win. That's 160 points still up for grabs. So that's it then from Magny-Cours. In a fortnight's time, rounds 5 and 6 it'll be of the World Touring Car Championship from Silverstone in support of the Centenary Tourist Trophy. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic weekend of action. If you ever came to any of the LG Super Racing weekends at Silverstone or Donington Park, you'll know what's on offer. A full and packed international circuit with a 3-hour FIA GT race as the Centenary Tourist Trophy, featuring Ferrari, Lamborghini, Maserati, Aston Martin and the rest. And then of course rounds 5 and 6 of the World Touring Car Champion, with Britain Andy Priaulx, the defending European champion, looking perhaps to win at his home circuit. From David Leslie, from the rest of the production crew at Monza, for the meanwhile from me, Martin Haven, it's goodbye for now. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.